Welcome to a new episode of the Little Radio Show. My name is Anjelica Cazares. My co-hosts are Sandra Fernandez and Juan Alanis. In today's episode, we talk about Twitter's new feature, the buy button, and have a conversation with Leticia Manzano from the Houston Area Women&rsquo regarding Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and reminisce and share our personal ghost stories in celebration of Halloween.
Hi, I'm Sandra Fernandez, and I thank you for joining us for another episode of the Little Radio Show. This week, I found some really cool things that I wanted to share in the In Case You Missed It segment with my co-hosts. I am a big fan of LinkedIn on social media, and I've been very impressed with some of the moves that they've been making to catch up to some of the other social networks and make themselves more relevant. Recently, one of the things that they did is that they made all of their groups private, which means that even groups that previously had been marked as open, you now have to be a member of before you can actually comment or interact with other people.
Can you still read it?
You can still read
the
stuff.
I see. Well, I'm not a LinkedIn person. Like, I don't do LinkedIn. I'm being a bad social media person.
No,
I don't do LinkedIn. So you can still read what the conversation is. You just can't comment. Is that what's different? You just can't
comment. And the intent is to force people who previously had been trolling from group to group to spam in messages to actually become members of groups, to make them accountable for the stuff that they're putting up there. The other thing that LinkedIn did is this is the first step that they are rolling out a separate application for LinkedIn groups, kind of like Facebook did with Messenger, so that now you've got all of your groups and all of your group conversations and interactions in a separate application.
This might be something I might want to do now.
Well, it's great for building communities, I think, right? I mean, it's like Facebook groups. Those are probably still very well used because you can build a community on there. Like, you can literally, it's like a secret community that nobody has access to unless you're allowed.
Yeah, and so that is one of the things. That's the intent. The intent is to build stronger communities and make LinkedIn groups a more vital part of professional networks.
So what happens on these? I know what happens on Facebook groups, but LinkedIn, why is that so important?
And LinkedIn doesn't let you send messages to anyone unless they're in your immediate network. First, second, or third, I think, circle. If you're in the same group with someone, you can send them a message whether you're connected or not.
Oh.
Yes.
Now.
Well, that's pretty interesting. One of the things I saw this week that I thought was kind of interesting for different reasons. Different networks, but there was recently a lot of coverage about one lady who she's a Hispanic voter, and she showed up at a Donald Trump rally, and she kind of went on this, I'll say, quote unquote, crazy banter about, we love Donald Trump. Everybody loves Donald Trump. And what I found was funny afterwards was that everybody on social media, like a lot of my Hispanic friends, they were like, please don't be from this nationality. Please don't be from this nationality.
No one wanted a disclaimer.
Nobody wanted a disclaimer.
It's when the only time Latinos separated was like, you can't be part of this community. Don't be so selected with this community.
So I was like, okay, we've not talked about the D word since we started the show.
No.
And I was like, and this is a good reason to just bring it up because it was so funny that even though she was up there claiming that there's so many Latinos were behind him, so many Latinos online were like, no, please don't be from.
But that's funny. So as of lately, Halloween is coming up around the corner, and I've been doing some these faces and costumes and things that I've kind of just been having fun with, and as I'm doing this on social media, I'm also finding myself intrigued. I'm looking for things to see, trying to become aware of the happenings in the news, and then I came across the whole Periscope incident. Somebody got arrested.
See, I just heard about this right now when you mentioned it. I had not heard about it.
She was periscoping herself drunk driving, and the people watching her called the police on her.
Yes. So
she was drunk driving and periscoping herself, saying that she was drunk.
She kept going on Periscope.
I'm so drunk. Oh my God, I don't even know
where I am. Did you see it? Did you see part of it?
Where's the closest restaurant? It was on the news.
Oh wow,
it was on the news. Well, Okay, so I read more into it, and it turns out that one of the younger police officers, because everybody was like, "What's Periscope? Why are we getting all these phone calls?" Was he on
Periscope?
Well, no, he had to activate an account, and they started following her, and they finally started looking at landmarks where she was at, and they were able to arrest her.
Oh, that's just sad. That's really just sad. Like, how do you go on Periscope drunk and you say you're drunk?
That's insane. But I think one of the quotes that one of the sergeants or lieutenants or somebody used was, "We're now training our officers to use Periscope."
Okay, so Periscope has become a crime-fighting tool.
Among all other things.
So I invite our audience, those of you who are listening to us, to share your "in case you missed it" moments in the comments. And we're going to be adding this as a regular segment. So if you've got some suggestions for the next time, let us know.
If you're just tuning in, this is the Little Radio Show, bringing you small talk about big topics on hmsnetradio.org.
It comes as no shock to anyone that I spend a significant amount of my day on social media, learning about social media, or working with social media. One of the things that happened recently that had me just going out and doing a bunch of research was that Twitter unveiled their Buy Now buttons. Mm-hmm. What this means is that they've partnered with several e-commerce providers to allow retailers the ability to integrate Twitter buy buttons, which, when you click on it, allows you to do the purchase inside Twitter without having to leave the Twitter sphere. This is huge. Currently, the way that retail acquisition happens on Twitter, or previously, I should say, the way that retail acquisition happens on Twitter is that you put up either a Twitter card or a message with the link that leads people off Twitter into the e-commerce site or the retail site, whereby you then go through the payment process, or you go through the shopping process, or whatever. This is different.
This eliminates all of that. Makes it possible for you to do it, ideally, I would imagine, on your mobile device. You know, if you're on your phone and you want to just make the purchase on Twitter while you're on your mobile device, you can do that.
So I know that there are several e-commerce providers that are working with them. One of which is Shopify, which is the only name that I recognize, and I'm sorry to the other e-commerce providers about that, mostly because I did recognize that. I know that Pinterest did this earlier in the year, that they provided the Buy Now buttons. Mm-hmm. I'd heard something about Instagram either had done it or was about to do something to that effect. Facebook has done some tweaks that allows you to buy things directly on there, or that makes it to where the process is seamless enough that it's not that different. Social media has always been this huge supporter of companies, brands and commerce, and different organizations. For retailers, though, mostly it was brand love. Awareness. It was awareness. And every once in a while, you did have the acquisition part, but it also always included leading people back to your website.
Right.
Do you think if we're seeing a little bit of a change in that?
Well, I think that for me, what I think is, I think a lot of times when you speak to small and medium business owners, they kind of think, yeah, social media is great. It's interesting. It's something to do. But what's the bottom line for me? And so I think that this kind of opens it up. Like, now you can actually buy that.
It takes the conversation in a different direction, where it's like, did you know that your potential customers can buy now through Twitter? They don't have to hop over to a third party.
Now,
website.
It should be noted that they still have to use one of the e-commerce partners right now.
Right.
But it is going to be able to give you some statistics on who is actually buying directly on Twitter. So it's an immediate number that you can see. Listen, this is the conversion rate that you're seeing directly on using this. Mm-hmm. For those who are not going through that, there is still a way to track conversion if you actually have some sort of an analytics program on your website and you're tagging your incoming links. And I know that this sounds incredibly technical.
Well, there's only so much that you can measure. That's the thing, is that you can't, depending on what your link is, there's only so much you can tell, like, about the behavior of the people. But I think the other thing for me is the behavior of us as online users and users of social media. I think more and more we're becoming, it's less likely that we're going to click on a link and go to another landing page, because it's just our human nature is that we don't want to. We want to stay on our stream. We want to stay on our whatever platform we're on and just continue viewing as opposed to going somewhere else.
And it's like online ads. And I was recently listening to a podcast that was talking about the new Apple iOS having this integrated ad blocker stuff and how that was going to affect mobile sites. But one of the things that most of us who spend a good amount of time online have done is we have trained ourselves not to see the ads.
Yeah.
We don't respond to them.
Or you see them and you pass them.
You see them and you pass them. And the same thing is I'm seeing, and of course I've got no statistics to back this up, so don't all of y'all get in a dither about it. But anecdotally from my friends, what I'm seeing is those of us who spend more than maybe an hour a day on social media have gotten into this kind of habit of you don't really see the messages that are acquisition messages, that are ads, that are sponsored. The promoted posts that do best with me are the ones that are not come by from me.
Now, as a business owner, the other thing you have to think about is, you're probably going to have to make some type of investment to get your ad or your buy now button in front of a lot of people, right?
Absolutely. And if you're not already using one of these e-commerce partners, even if they open it to everybody, someone's going to have to go in and do this for you. And the average business person is maybe not going to have either the time or the savvy to know how to do this themselves or to optimize it for the best results.
Because it's like any other ad. You have to think about the aesthetics. You have to think about, what's your call to action.
Timing.
Yeah, what's the timing? And,
how much money to invest in promotion.
Exactly. So it's a whole new digital realm. But the good thing is it makes it easy to buy, with the click of a button on your social media network that you're on of choice, or Twitter in this case.
Well, it's all about the user experience. What they're doing is actually working with the user experience to make it easier for people, to make it to where you don't actually have to make the decision to go off. It isn't a link that looks sort of weird because most of these are shortened links. Even on a Twitter card in the existing format, it's not pretty.
Right, and sometimes if you're not familiar, if you're not somebody who does this all the time, you have questions like, is this a reliable link? Do I want to click it? Do I want to go to another landing page? And
it's very simple. Buy. I mean, that's a very simple, very direct call to action. Here's the product. This is why you should buy it. Here's how much it costs, and click here.
Yep. So it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what the success of it is, and I think that for like I said, for smaller business owners and medium-sized business owners who maybe are selling products directly, shipping products directly, this may be a good convenience.
And for those of you out there, if you have any experience either using the Twitter buy button either as a shopper or as a seller, please leave a comment in our show notes.
For those of you just tuning in, this is the Little Radio Show on hmsnetradio.org. You can catch the show every Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Domestic violence is awareness month is actually October, if nobody knew. I know it inundates with breast cancer awareness, but I did want to spotlight and sort of shine light some awareness on this also. Here today we actually have our friend Leticia Manzano. She is manager of counseling and advocacy here at the Houston Women's Center. Talk to me a little bit about advocacy, the advocacy portion of it.
I think it's really important for the community to know that when you're working with the victim of domestic violence, when you're working with somebody who is downtrodden, if you will, someone whose self-esteem has just been blown away by the abuser, they're not going to be able to speak up for themselves on many occasions. And so what this survivor has to go through is they have to go to institutions. So, for example, they have to go to the police department. They might have to go to court. They might have to go and file for child support. And many, many times they've lost their voice. And what that means is that they are so afraid of so many things that they don't speak up for themselves. And so the advocacy piece is not only telling them what their rights are when they go and just kind of engage with these institutions, but also helping them to find that voice and to tell others, I am worthy, I deserve to be treated with respect, and if I am not, then I'm going to, talk to someone else. And so I think one of the big pieces that we do at the Women's Center is this not just the counseling, let's talk about healing and your feelings and shame and all these other things that are important, but also just informing people and the clients, the survivors, about what it's like to go out there as a survivor and what you might confront when you talk to a police officer who doesn't believe you or who blames you, or when you go to the child support division and they want you to have a meeting with the abuser, that kind of thing.
So I'm a little curious in regards to advocacy. How's this? Let's say I'm a victim, and I walk in and I need advocacy. So what does the Houston Women's Center do towards the advocacy? Like how exactly in real lifetime, how does it take place? Do you identify that she needs advocacy, or is it something she asks for, or is it something that's offered to everyone?
What we do, it's offered to everyone, every single person who comes in and who we identify as a survivor needing services. And so pretty much it's a basic question, what brings you here today? And they let us know, and sometimes, it takes a whole hour to hear their story, and sometimes they come in and say, I need a divorce and I don't have money for an attorney. Or they say, I need food and I was turned down at the food stamp office. And so they pretty much know what their needs are. And when they don't, we just listen and listen and listen to the story. And then we tell them, or we say something like, it sounds like you need this. It sounds like, and then we let them know what we can help with. One of the things that I think is really important is talking about immigrant women and women who come in undocumented.
That is a shame, because sometimes they feel they don't have any resources available to them.
Absolutely. And many, many women don't know, undocumented women don't know that there are laws, federal laws that are there to address this issue of a legal permanent resident or a citizen marrying a woman and keeping her in her place, so to speak, and not helping her get her papers. And so, one of the things that the abuser will tell her is, I'm going to have you deported. If you call the police, they're going to deport you. And so really talking to her about her rights and helping her access free legal help, a free attorney who will take her case so that she can get out from under that abuser again. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it is a male or female, right?
Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up. We do have male survivors who come in. The numbers are much smaller. It's smaller than 5% of our clientele. And I do believe that men can be emotionally abused. They can absolutely be physically abused. But one of the reasons that I use the word women is because it's the majority of our population, but also because the way that they experience domestic violence is there's one little difference. Women are afraid for their lives. And I don't see that in the men very often. Yes, they are downtrodden. Yes, they have low self-esteem. Yes, they need to know their rights. But they're not afraid that they're going to be killed in a domestic violence situation. And the truth is that the people who are killed in domestic violence situations are women and children. And so for the most part, you will hear me say she as the victim or as the survivor. But I also don't want to minimize that men can come to get services from us. Absolutely. I am so happy for our outreach team, specifically Concepcion Miranda, who goes out there and goes to our communities and talks to men and women about what we do, and we get men to come by.
So what is the goal of Domestic Violence Awareness Month?
Well, the major goal is to let people know that it's still an issue. I think it's something that domestic violence and sexual assault, I'll throw it in there because sexual assault sometimes is part of domestic violence. It's such a hush-hush issue. People still to this day think it's a private matter, that it happens behind somebody's closed doors, or that we shouldn't intervene. But that's the reason that it actually continues to happen, because we don't talk about it enough to talk about things like prevention. And so Domestic Violence Awareness Month now is not just talking about intervention with survivors, but also how to prevent it, how to change society, how to change men and boys. And I'm going to say that, and I don't know if that makes one uncomfortable or not, but how to change those gender, we were having a conversation a while back ago about gender, how to change those rigid gender roles that can become dangerous in relationships.
Okay. I have to say, though, I have to admit, we were talking about gender roles, and I think I stuck my foot in my mouth several times. So I think re-educating all of us, sort of speak, what gender really means, and the conversations that we should have, and not do like I and stick my foot in my mouth that I think I apologize profusely about. But so how can we find the Houston Women's Center? Where can we go to find you?
Well, the Houston Area Women's Center is located on the corner of West Dallas and Waugh Drive, kind of in the Montrose area.
Here in Houston, Texas.
Here in Houston, Texas, but we provide services to all of the counties that are adjacent to Harris. So I'm going to give out our hotline number. That's the best way to contact us. It's kind of the gateway if anyone needs shelter, if anyone has questions about counseling, if you have a friend or a family member who you're concerned about and you want to talk to somebody to know what you can do. Please call 713-528-2121. I'm going to say it one more time, 713-528-2121.
And what would you say to that individual who's not sure that they should get help? And what do you normally tell them to get them to seek out the help they need?
The very first thing is that everything is confidential. You don't even have to tell us your name. Just call us and say, hi, my name is Maria, and I have some questions. And just talk to somebody. And I think the main thing is that at the Houston Area Women's Center, we are not going to tell you what to do. We're going to listen to your story. We're going to find out what you need. And we're going to offer you some choices. But it's always ultimately your decision if you're ready or if you're not ready or if you need more information. We're never going to tell you what to do because at home, you already have somebody doing that for you.
Thank you so much, Leticia, for coming and having the conversation with us.
If you're just joining us, this is Juan Alanis, Sandra Fernandez, and Anjelica Cazares on The Little Radio Show. You can find our show archives at ldquo.com.
So as we all know, Halloween is right around the corner, and we're kind of excited. We're actually very excited. I, myself, and Juan and Sandra. And we were having this conversation over dinner the other day about Halloween stories and kind of scary Halloween stories. And so I have a few Halloween stories. Well, not Halloween stories. I have a few I've scared myself. Yes, ghost stories. They're not necessarily ghost stories because I'd never seen anything. Well, no. I backtracked. I did see something, but I'm not sure if it was a ghost or if it was my eyes playing tricks on me. Okay, so let me go ahead and go into one of the stories.
I have a good ghost story. I'll just say that.
Hold on. Well, first you gotta let me say mine. Okay, so back in the day, when I was younger, my younger years, in my teens actually, I had a couple of friends who would come over often to our house. And my mother's old house has 2 stories. And the top story is 2 bedrooms, and the lower level has kind of everything else, the kitchen, the living room, and so on and so forth. And as my friends were sitting down on the sofa, and I had just come from upstairs, and I had just walked downstairs, and we were all sitting on the sofa. Nobody else was in the house but me and my friends. All of a sudden, we hear someone walking down the stairs, like you can hear it throughout the house, and it's bam, 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 and we kind of stop.
All in together?
No, we were all
somebody
together.
Upstairs?
Totally not. We were all together. We stop dead in the conversation that we're having, and we look at each other, and we're just staring at each other. And she's like, "Did you hear that?" I was like, "Yeah, I heard that."
Wait, how many people were there?
There was 3 of us. I was like, "Yeah, I totally heard that." And she's like, what was that? But the thing was, I wasn't scared. I didn't feel like a bad presence or anything like that, but I hear it. And the thing is that we hear things at my mom's house, the 2-story house, all the time. This wasn't new for me.
Was it like steps, or was it just was it like creaking?
No. It was steps. It was I don't know how to say that. To this day, when I see her, she always reminds me of that. Do you remember that one time when we heard those, somebody coming down the stairs and there was nobody there? And I'm like, yeah, I know, I remember. I get it.
Did you see anything?
No, we didn't see anything.
You didn't see anything?
We didn't see anything. But
what would you have done if you saw something?
Ran. The logical thing to do is run.
So I used to work in an office building. In an office building that was near several cemeteries. Okay, and I worked late all the time. Never bothered me at all. a coworker and I went in on a Saturday, and we're there on a Saturday, and the fire alarm kept going off, and we would call the alarm company who was telling us that they didn't show anything, that the fire alarm was going off, but they're not showing anything. I'm like, can you not hear it on the phone? They're like, yes, we can hear it, but we're not showing anything. Fine. So we're there, and we heard, you know how it is in an office, you can hear movement. We heard movement. Went out and took a look, and there's nothing, and it's fine. And then one of us goes, hello, and down the hall, I swear to dear Lord, there was a hello, and we went up and down, and we could not find it. We convinced ourselves that it was
echo.
We convinced ourselves that it was echo, grabbed our stuff, left, and never worked a Saturday again.
Now, Sandra, you seem to be describing like a Scream movie, because you're like, hello, and then you're walking down the hall.
Oh, no, I peeked out, and look, it was my office. I was like, but so I want to hear Juan's.
No, because
Juan's
you said you went out and you checked.
We looked out in the hallway because we heard steps.
But did you have a weapon?
Why would I have a weapon in my office?
Okay, so I'm assuming your story has a weapon then, Juan.
No, my story doesn't have a weapon.
So let's hear it.
So my story is like when I was a kid, and I was like, I don't know, maybe like probably 10 or younger, and we were in my parents' ranch in Mexico. This is like in the cerros, like in the hills, and so like we were like going from my mom's. The way that we had the rancho set up is my grandma's house was probably maybe like 2 or 3 blocks from my parents' house. So we were walking in the night. It was dark, and in those days there wasn't electricity, and there wasn't like running water, so it was like pitch dark. So we like had, I don't know if we had a flashlight or we had like some type of lantern that we were using to like walk across back to my parents' house. But we were leaving my grandma's house. It was like late at night. And there was like this pond in the middle between their properties, and the pond had like a little hill that went over it. And so as we were walking, and it was literally everybody in my family, like my mom, except for my dad, but my mom, all my brothers and my sisters, we were all walking like back together. And all of a sudden we look over the hill and we see this like white like body like floating in the air.
Oh my God.
And it was floating it was floating in the air. We were going to my grandma's house first, and it was in the night. So when we walked over there, it floated over the hill, and then when it got to the end of the hill, it disappeared. Mm-hmm. And so we all ran, like nobody said anything. It was just like everybody just was quiet. We were all like we're holding hands, and we were just like grasping each other's hands like very very tightly. And we got there, and then like we opened the gate, we went inside, and then we like when we got to my grandma's house, we were like, "Did you see that?"
If you don't mention it, it's not real.
And then everybody was like, "Yes," and then we were all like terrified, and then we had to walk back. Like afterwards. God. And so like finally we were like dreading it. We were like putting it off, like, no, we don't want to walk back. But then finally we had to all walk back. So we did the walk back, and again when we walked back, the little white body like flew over the hill again and disappeared at the other end. And so we went back to the house, and again we were like super freaked out. Did you see that again? And they're like, yes. And to this day, like we're all terrified of like when we go to the rancho. And none of us want to be alone in my parents' house. We're like, no, it's too scary here. There's ghosts.
But you know, it's funny because so many people will tell you that they don't believe in ghosts, but then they'll have a story about something that tells you, okay, they do believe in ghosts. I don't
believe in ghosts. I believe in presence. Like you can be in a presence of something just bad, and you feel funky.
But see, I do believe in ghosts. I've always believed in ghosts. After that, I'm like, no, I do believe that they're ghosts because I saw one. But it didn't help that when we were there, like we would, like my cousins and we would spend time just telling like scary stories to each other.
See, here's the thing: y'all were summoning them at this point.
See, again, belief right there.
And if you guys have any ghost stories out there, let us know. Let us know what happened. I am so into them. So let Anjelica know. I would read them, and we can have that conversation
I'll read my rosary.
And yes, even your version of La Llorona works.
So let us know. And so share, please. And thanks for joining us.
And have a happy and safe Halloween.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes channel and leave us a rating and a review. You can find the link on our iTunes channel at thelittlерadioshow.com. As a reminder that you can catch us every Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org.